What's going on, everyone? This is Julian. I hope you all are doing well, and welcome to another video. It's been a while since I last made a video, but here we are. We have some battles here taken in the Fossil Cup. And the Fossil Cup, if you guys aren't aware, is a limited meta with the types that are being allowed that are the Water type, the Rock type, and the Steel type. So we have here a very classic ABB style team in which there is an Ice type and a Steel type in the front, which is Alolan Sandslash, and I am running the Shadow version. And then there are two Water types in the back, one of which is Mantine with Wing Attack, Aerial Ace, and Ice Beam, and then Jellicent as well with Hex, Surf, and Shadow Ball. So in this case, Jellicent is actually the designated safe swap of the team, and then the Mantine will be in the back. Now, there is a case to be made where you can run Water Pulse on the Mantine instead of Ice Beam, but I personally felt that Ice Beam gave me more coverage. So that is why I am running it here on this set. So that is the team. The basic goal, of course, is to bait out the best response to a Ice type, Steel type in a lead with with the Jellicent. So in this case, the Alolan Sandslash in the front would be weak to something like a fighter like Lucario or Poliwrath here that are very common in this meta. So the Jellicent will bait that out, and then hopefully the Mantine can be used in the back to sweep whatever is in the back. So that is kind of the main purpose of this team. Now, of course, this team is not a team that I created. This was a team that is featured by a fellow content creator named Zerfelrose. So if you guys want to give his channel a follow and a like, his link is going to be in the description as well. So that is going to be how this team works. And for Zerfelrose himself, he is a great content creator, so definitely give his content a follow and like as well. He would greatly appreciate it as well. So, in any case, I'm going to go ahead and get right back into the commentary here. I know the video is a little bit slow for whatever reason, but my apologies for that. We have a Jellicent mirror match here. This is going to be the end of about to be the end of the first battle, and in this set, I was able to get a 3 and 2. So in this case, I am now going to go for the Shadow Ball against the opposing Jellicent, and this is perfectly fine. I'm going to let this move go, regardless of what it is. It's not going to KO unless it's a Shadow Ball, and they actually end up going for the Surf Bait. So this is pretty much a game over at this point, and I am going to now safely shield the next move, even though I know it is going to be the Surf here from the opposing Jellicent. And actually, it is a Shadow Ball, which is great. And then the opponent does have to throw a move, so that's totally okay. They ended up using all of their energy here on with the Ferrothorn, and at this point, I'm just going to be able to get to 2 moves here and win the game with my Alolan Sandslash. So the Ice Punch from this range will definitely be knocking out the Ferrothorn, and I do have a Drill Run loaded to knock out the Jellicent when it comes back in, after one more Shadow Claw, of course. So the Drill Run will be coming out here from the Alolan Sandslash, and that will be taking out the Jellicent. So great game, well played to my opponent here. And we are hopping into the next battle. We have Shadow Alolan Sandslash into a Whiscash. So this is not a good lead at all. I am going to be swapping out of here into my Jellicent. As I mentioned, that is going to be the safe swap here in this team. And my opponent responds with a Ferrothorn. So this is not the greatest thing for the Jellicent to see, but I can still fight back a little bit here. So I am going to be letting this move go. The Power Whip will do a substantial amount of damage. It will not be enough to KO though. So I'm going to be firing off the Shadow Ball here. I do lose the Cap Tie, but that's fine. I'm just going to be firing out the Shadow Ball, dealing some nice big damage here onto this Ferrothorn. And I am able to get to a Surf here. I realize that I cannot get to a Shadow Ball, so I am going to try to chip the Ferrothorn with a Surf. So the opponent will know that it's a Surf, and they are going to let that go. So that is totally fine. I'm going to go ahead and wait my timer, and then I'm going to be able to Shadow Claw down the Ferrothorn here. So I am going to be hit by a move from the Ferrothorn though, and it is going to be the Thunder, which is unfortunate, and I will be losing about half of my health here. So the Thunder will do big damage here to my Alolan Sandslash, although the good news is I am banking a move here on the A-Slash if I need it for later. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I am immediately going to be swapping into a Mantine and see what my opponent has in the back. And they respond with their own Mantine, so this is totally okay. I am going to be firing off Ice Beams here, and my Mantine up energy should be doing okay in this matchup. So it depends on what moveset my opponent's Mantine is running. So if they are also running Ice Beam, then it can be a little bit tricky. What I'm going to do here, of course, I'm going to be tanking their moves. So if it's Ice Beam, so be it. It'll do a nice chunk of damage. And they are running Ice Beam, which is unfortunate for me. So that's totally okay. I'm going to go farm up a little bit more energy here, and then I'm going to fire off an Aerial Ace this time. So I'm going to try to make 2 Aerial Aces here at this point. So they are going to be shielding that move, which is fine. And I'm going to be now shielding their next move. So in this case, they are also going to be firing off another Ice Beam, which is great for me. In this case, I'm just going to overfarm a little bit more, and then I'm going to be throwing the back-to-the-back Aerial Aces here at this point. So this is going to be now in a range where the Aerial Ace will KO the opponent's Mantine, which is great for me. And the Whiscash does have energy, so they do need to fire the Scald to KO me at this point. So I'm going to let this go, and it is a Scald, so unfortunately this could be game over for me. And I need to get to 3 moves here. I'm going to go ahead and fire off the Ice Punch, and it is the Cap Tie. But unfortunately, a Ice Punch will not be able to do enough damage here. So that's totally okay. I'm going to have to shield this move. And because my opponent still has a shield at this point, and they are able to get to another Mud Bomb before I can make another 2 moves. So unfortunately for me, this game is pretty much over. And then they are pretty much at their move right around now. I'm going to be firing off the Ice Punch, but unfortunately they do have the shield, and they are going to be shielding this move up, and they are pretty much at the point where they can fire off a Mud Bomb, and that is going to be it for me. Unfortunately, this game is going to be a loss, but that's fine. Well played to my opponent there. Hopping into the next battle, we have Shadow Alolan Sandslash against a Jellicent. So this is a pretty decent lead here for me. I just have to watch out for their Surfs and their Shadow Balls though. Although I am dealing super effective damage to them with the Shadow Claws. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off their Joron right here. This is going to be where they are at a Shadow Ball. So it takes 5 hexes to the Shadow Ball initially. And then I'm going to tank this move. Depends on what it is. If it is a Shadow Ball, it'll do a very big chunk of damage. If it's a Surf, it will get me to the yellow. So they are firing off a Surf here. And I'm going to try to catch their next move. Actually, I don't. So I am going to now shield and attempt to farm down the Jellicent here. So that's totally fine. I am going to commit the shield, and then I'm going to be able to farm down the Jellicent. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and now pivot into my Jellicent. And luckily, they have a Poliwrath, so this is fine. And they are going to now counter swap again into a Lantern. So this is okay. I'm going to go ahead and fire off a risky Surf Bait here. I do want to start to force shields from this Lantern, and I do get a shield, which is great for me. Now, the Lantern actually does need to fire off a Thunderbolt to KO at this point. If they fire off a Surf, it will not KO. So they do make the correct play and fire off the Thunderbolt, which will take off my Jellicent from the field, which is nice. And now I'm just going to go ahead and go for the double drill run here. This is going to put the Lantern into a pretty difficult situation. And they are going to shield the first one, which is okay for me, which is great. And now I am going to go ahead and fire off the next drill run. So this is going to be doing some big damage here to the Lantern. Unfortunately, not enough to KO. And I am going to be taken out here, which is fine. At this point, I am going to have to shield the Mantine because any move from the Lantern will do much more damage than any move from the Poliwrath. So I do correctly shield Thunderbolt from the from the Lantern, which is good. And now it's pretty much going to be game over from here. I do lose the Cap Tie against the Poliwrath here, unfortunately, so they are going to be able to debuff me with an Icy Wind. But that's totally okay. 2 Aerial Aces will still be enough to KO this Poliwrath with the wing attacks here. So, going to be firing off Aerial Ace number 1, which is going to be getting the Poliwrath into the yellow, and I just need to make it to Aerial Ace number 2 right here, I just have to throw right away because I do not want to take another Icy Wind. So I am going to be firing off the Aerial Ace right here. This is going to be enough to take out the Poliwrath. And at this point, just one Wing Attack is enough to take out a Lantern. So great game and well played. Hopping into the next battle here, we have Alolan Sandslash into the Lantern. So this is where I want to see Lantern and this team on the lead. So I am going to be staying in this, of course. I'm not going to be pivoting into any of my other mons just yet. Because this is the best matchup against Lantern, as I mentioned earlier. And they are going to fire off a Surf, which is fine. I can tank one Surf pretty easily. And now they pivot into a Ferrothorn, which actually makes things pretty tricky here for me. So what I'm going to do is I am going to chip this the Ferrothorn here with an Ice Punch. And I'm going to try to catch a move onto one of my back two mons. So I'm going to be firing off another Ice Punch here. And then I think I pivot into, or I don't pivot yet. So I do try to catch a move here on the Mantine, which is fine because I know the Mantine won't have too much play with the Lantern in the mix. So I do catch a Power Whip, which is okay. I'm going to go ahead and try to farm this down. And I know they are going to be throwing a Thunder, but I do end up firing off the Aerial Ace here on the Cacti. So that's actually okay here, but I think at this point though they are going to no shield because they know that they can come in with the Lantern and get a very big amount of farm, which is not that good for me. I'm going to go ahead and fire off the Ice Beam here. So again, this will not do a lot of damage here to the Lantern, and unfortunately my energy is pretty much walled by the Lantern here. So I think this might have been a little bit of a mistake here from my end, but that's totally okay. I'm going to go ahead and come back in with my Alolan Sandslash here, and I am going to shield and see what they want to do. So they are going to be firing off Surfs here, and that's totally fine. I am going to try to make it to a move. I am able to make it to a Ice Punch here. So this is actually fine here, and it looked like it was a Cacti, and it is. So at this point, I think I'm going to actually double shield. Depends on what my opponent will have in the back. So we'll have to see. And at this point, they are going to be coming with a Poliwrath, and I'm going to immediately pivot out into my Jellicent here. So this battle is not yet over, and I'm going to go ahead and farm up some energy, and they are going to be making it to an Icy Wind here to start debuffing my attack. So that's totally okay. I'm going to farm up a little bit more and now throw a Shadow Ball here against the Poliwrath. So this is more than likely going to be forcing the final shield from the Poliwrath, which it actually doesn't. They actually do let it go, which is perfectly fine for me. And I'm going to overfarm here a little bit more, and we'll just have to see what my opponent decides to do here. They're going to probably throw another Icy Wind, which they do. So at this point, I'm going to overfarm a couple of more Hexes, and then throw a Surf. Now, Surf is not enough to KO. I do really want some energy here on this Poliwrath, so I am going to try to farm some more. And I do come back in with the Lantern though, so I think I did make a very bad mistake here, because I totally forgot that they were not in a move, and I wasn't either. So I'm just going to go ahead and force a shield here with Surf. But unfortunately for me, this game is pretty much over because the Lantern is at a move, and I think doing that cost me the game here. So probably would have been better to stay with the Jellicent and try to go for a move there, but that's totally fine. GG's. And hopping into the next battle here, we have Alolan Sandslash up against a Poliwrath. So this is a terrible lead. I'm going to go ahead and swap out here into my Jellicent, which is my safe swap. And my opponent responds a little bit late, and they are going to try to... so they're going to be throwing off a move here, which is interesting. It seems like my opponent might not have a hard response to a Jellicent. So they're going to debuff me first, and then they're going to go ahead and pivot into whatever their next mon is. But they're actually not swapping out yet. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off a Shadow Ball here and see what my opponent wants to do. So the Shadow Ball does get a shield, which is very interesting here from me. So it seems like my Jellicent will have some play against whatever they have in the back if they're staying in with this Poliwrath. So that's totally fine. I'm going to go ahead and take another Icy Wind. And now they decide to pivot into a Mantine, which is interesting because They could have pivoted into the Mantine earlier, but that's okay. Um, I'm just going to go ahead and now fire off a Shadow Ball here against the Mantine. Not going to do too much damage here now that it has been double debuffed. And the Mantine is going to go ahead and fire off an Aerial Ace here. So that's totally fine. I'm going to go ahead and tank this move. And I'm going to go ahead and fire off. I'm going to go ahead and bank a move and then pivot back into A slash because those timers are desynced. So I feel like I can get some value out of my Alolan Sandslash here before the Poliwrath comes back in. So that's why I chose to pivot back into the Alolan Sandslash here at this point. So I'm going to tank all this damage here from the Mantine. And I'm going to go ahead and fire off the Ice Punch here on the Captai to their next move. If they do have Water Pulse, that's totally fine. I'm going to go ahead and let this move go. If they have Ice Beam, then it is double resisted. So they actually do end up having it. They just go for the Aerial Ace again, which is fine. I'm going to go ahead and now farm down the Mantine, and at this point I'm expecting the Poliwrath to come back in, which they do. So I'm going to go ahead and now fire off a Drill Run here against this Poliwrath. This will do a big chunk of damage, not enough to KO, but that's okay. My Alolan Sandslash has done its job, and now it's very easy win condition here, just to go for a move. And I do end up getting the catch here on my Jellicent, which is totally fine. So I'm just going to leave it up to 2 Shield Mantine to close the game. And now what does my opponent have in the back? They have a Ferrothorn, and a Shadow Ferrothorn at that. So this is pretty much a very straightforward victory here for me. I just have to shield any move from the Ferrothorn because I know that any move from the Ferrothorn will be doing much more damage than any move from the or from the Poliwrath actually. So Power Whip or Thunder will be doing much more damage than an Icy Wind or a Dynamic Punch or a Scald from the Poliwrath. So I'm going to be shielding the Power Whip here from the Shadow Ferrothorn, and I'm going to overfarm a little bit and then throw the Aerial Ace. I do throw on pretty bad timing though, unfortunately, so I do let a Bullet Seed sneak in. Not something you want to do, but that's totally fine. They are lagging, I guess, and well, it didn't really show there because I guess for whatever reason the game was a little bit buggy at that point, but another Bullet Seed snuck through, and that's totally fine. This is game over pretty much, and now all that's left is a Poliwrath, and there's nothing you can do. So that's going to be a good game, GG's. And so that's the team. Definitely a very powerful team if you want to consider trying out for the Fossil Cup. It's a great team for climbing. It's very, very good. Not a lot of core breakers and just a very solid team overall. So if you guys like this video, please feel free to give this video a like and thumbs up. All support will really help this channel grow. And of course, if you guys want to stay tuned for any upcoming videos that I have coming up in the future, please feel free to hit that notification bell so you will stay up to date with whatever video I have coming up next. And that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.